Okay, I'm going to try to go live here. Hair looks okay. You're not going to be looking at my hair. So this is an experiment, so let's see what happens. Black Velvet Silver, number 2. You can see that or not. Currently working on a neon sign, and I'm working on painting some of the neon, which is not lit. It is daytime unlit. I like how those shadows look during the day. Currently working wet on dry, because that's what I do about 90% of the time. And then I'm going to soften up that edge. See if you can see, moving on down the road here. Sometimes when I move into a dark area, I'll sharpen up that edge, this line right here, just a little bit. Sorry, my sister's texting me. I'll just sharpen that line up just a little bit, especially in the shadow areas. You won't notice it as much. Thanks everybody for joining me. This is a new experiment for me. Coming on live. This is the first live I've ever done on YouTube. I've done some lives on Facebook. I don't know if you're any of my Facebook followers, but it's been a while since I've done a live on Facebook. And I just felt in the notion to do it today. Thank you, Scarlett. I appreciate you. For those of you that missed when I first started, I was explaining that I'm painting some neon here. This is neon that is during the day. I'm currently working on a series of neon paintings. And this one is a very old hotel, motel, excuse me, old motel up in Petersburg, Florida. I'm down south of there, about an hour and a half from St. Petersburg. What I do is I'll have my um, my painting out and I put my pattern on it, but then I'll follow along on my phone. So the one thing I like about having my original image on my phone is I can zoom in and out, like really, really zoom in and out on it to kind of get see the detail. Once you get to a certain point, you start making it big. It doesn't look great, but I don't need it to be perfect. I just need to be able to see kind of where I'm going. Thank you, Gleamer. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate that. It makes me laugh. Trust me, it's not easy. I've worked I've worked for 12 years now to be an overnight success. So I'm kind of hoping that eventually happens. I've noticed that whenever I do one of these paintings, like the most important part happens in the last, 5 to 10%. So when I paint something that's very realistic, I get, um, it looks very boring. I'm sorry. It looks kind of boring at times because you're just kind of doing a few little touches. But I've had paintings where just like one little touch of paint took it from, oh, that's nice to, wow, that's really real. And so I I like to spend that time doing these little tiny touches. I'm not the end, but I am starting to use the smaller brushes. I work from my bigger brushes to my smaller brushes, and which is what most watercolors do. But most of my brushes are small, which is great because they're cheap. Thank you, Susan. You can log anytime I'm on. I don't know if you're one of my followers or not. I have a hard time telling who the followers are. And this is, like I said, this is my first time, but anytime I go live, you all are welcome. I've got to get to my apparently I have to get to five, excuse me, 1,000 followers. And once I do that, then they'll loosen up on me a little bit. Right now, um, YouTube is kind of holding me a little bit hostage, but that's okay. I mean, I understand why they do it. So, but right now they're holding me a little bit hostage. So I'm trying to build up those followers. See that it looks so much different already. Just that little tiny bit. This I didn't tell you. This hotel is called the Banyan Tree. Apparently, it's like really well known. I've seen several paintings of the banyan tree, which I don't understand why. Maybe I should go back and ask them. I might do that. I do have plans for at least two paintings of this sign. So I I'll be doing it again. This one, what I wanted to do was create. I got two things going on in this painting that I really like. First off, there's neon, but that's not one of the things I'm talking about. As you can tell up here, this painting is like really warm, and I wanted to create a painting that felt like heat. Like if you put your hand up here, you'd be like, "Dang, that feels hot," you know, or you think you're gonna feel a really hot painting, but you don't, obviously. I just wanted to like visually feel that, and so I just went for it. I'm like, it's a piece of paper. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I rent a piece of paper. Paper is really, it's expensive, but it's not expensive because it's got another side. I can paint, I can flip it over. I can paint on the other side. Some people will tell you you can't, but that's not true. You can. And then the other thing that I have going on is this bird right up here. This is going to be a bird that is considered the most um, um, not extinct, but most endangered bird in America. It may be in the world. They believe that there's somewhere between 50 and 100 of them left, and it's a Florida bird, which is going to be kind of on theme for what I'm doing here because these neon, they're kind of endangered also. You know, it's kind of sad now that I'm clued into it and I'm watching. I will see some of these old motels as you're going down the road, and they are. You can tell that they've updated the sign at some point, and the motel will have a really cool name, and like you knew that at some point it just had the coolest sign. So anyway, I kind of want to do some road trips maybe over the next year, maybe, and do some more signs. I mean, there's supposed to be some really incredible ones in Texas, and of course, Las Vegas. Um, Actually, there's a neon museum in Las Vegas. I want to go talk to those people. And there is a new one in Kansas City. I'm from the Kansas City area, just north of Kansas City. So I want to go back and see that. I'm going through here and I'm seeing places that I've missed. One thing I hate about neon signs is these dang little plugs, which obviously they have to be there, but I hate painting them. Anyways, I want to go back to the one in Kansas City. It's called the Lumi. Um, and I'm not sure if they're open yet or not. That's Lumi. So Lumi, if you're watching, hey. Oh, hi, Pat. That's great. Awesome. Nice to see you. Anyway, so there's a new museum in Kansas City called the Lumi, and they're supposed to open in 2024, but I don't know for sure if that's happened yet or not. So I need to just call them or send them a message and say, "Hey, are you open? Because I want to come see you." I'll be back in the area probably this fall or this winter. Hopefully in the fall, because I hate going to Missouri in the winter. But they put Christmas in the wintertime. I don't know why. Anyway, well, I do know why. Jesus had to be born in the wintertime. So anyway, I want to go back and visit them. I want to see this new museum. I want to talk to them about a potential show there. I think that'd be kind of cool. In Kansas City, they got some great vintage signs. And I follow neon lovers, neon people that love neon. And I get to see these signs all around the country. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful ones in Texas. And all of these pieces of neon, when it comes down, it like comes into these plugs, like this this base down here. And every single one of them has a deep shadow right around the base of it. And then of course it itself has a shadow that you got to cast off. So in my painting here, I'll lift this up so you can see. I've got a starburst up here, really bright, and then it comes into orange. This did not happen. I know you know that, but this did not happen. And so I want to have that warm cast to it. And also that putting that light in there, I had to kind of adjust the values. Some of the values are lighter over here and work their way out and darker. And I do have difficulty controlling that, keeping on task because I have a tendency to overwork things. So I'm trying to really be more cognizant of that. And also, I need to work more on imaginative imaginative realism. I came from photography. I was a photographer for 17 years. I still consider myself a photographer. I am also a photographer. So um, it's hard for me to walk away from that and let it go. And then, it's hard for me to just use my imagination. What would happen if? So I've been trying to do that a lot more. What would happen if I made this place look like it's really hot? Trust me, right now in Florida, it's really hot. So a lot of these I'll have to let sit and dry for a while. And then I can come back and I can pull that level up again. But doing these neon um, lights here, I kind of enjoy doing them. At first I didn't, because the first one I did was actually an 8 by 8 and I've sold it. It went over to Scotland for an exhibition over there, and it sold while it was in Scotland, which is great. But then that means you have one less painting. So it's kind of a little sad at times too, to see it go. But anyway, so the first one I did was 8 by 8 and it was wow, it was really difficult to do that neon on that little teeny tiny painting. But I did it. So now it's a little bit easier. And at first I didn't really enjoy it that much, but now I do kind of enjoy doing it because just you only really need like maybe 2 glazes, maybe 3 glazes. I'm going to be adding more videos to my YouTube channel. In fact, I've got one sitting there right now just talking about coming back and starting again and that sort of stuff. But anyway, so I'm going to be loading that one up in a few days. I'm just kind of waiting until maybe I get a couple more pieces done. I've been helping my sister. She bought a house down here, and so had less time to do that sort of stuff. But I'm going to have to step back and say, I need to do this. This has got to be a priority. So, past 4 years, all that COVID crap kind of made other stuff priorities. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I'm going to make me a priority. So you can see how much difference that looks. I'm hoping you can see that well. And that's one glaze. Now this is going to dry. When you paint, you lose about 30%, between 20 and 30% of your color. Although I am doing wet on dry, so it tends to hold its color a lot better. So I may only lose about 20%. But, so I'll come back and I'll do another one. However, it's great to only have to do a couple glazes for these. I mean, they're predominantly white. You just got to put a shadow on them. So all of this black I'm using, this gray. By the way, I'm one of those people, I never use Payne's gray. I mean, I just don't think about it. I have it, but I just never use it. The gray that I use is my own gray or my own black. I mix my own black, which is sepia and indigo, generally is what I use. But I've been experimenting with some others because I want some that's just a little bit more permanent. I have a tendency to do my shadows real early, too early, because I get excited. So I want to, get those shadows down. And I like doing that because you can tell where your midtones need to be when you do that. But when you do that and you do that process, you tend to lose, when you go back with color, you start, oh, I should have put some color there. And I'll do too much lifting. So I'm trying to get a good permanent black color. And this is my black, but it's really watered down. If you missed it earlier, I'm using a black velvet silver. And this is a number 2. And I'm at that part where I just do a little bit of outline just to sharpen that up. You could do that with your black on something like this. I'm calling it black, but you know what I mean. You can do that with your black on something like this, or maybe I want to come back in with maybe a little bit darker, like this is a yellow here. Maybe I want to come back with a little darker version of that. And that's mostly a yellow ochre. And I've mixed in cad yellow medium a little bit on some of these areas. So like here's more ochre. This has got more of the cad in it. Another good thing about this is when you do this, these thin layers like this, they dry so fast. So now I'm just going back and now I'm already doing my second layer. And I did that first layer, I don't know what, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. I don't think you can see my reference. I'll pull it over a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. If you're new, I would love if you subscribed. I'd appreciate it so much. I'm trying to get to my 500. I think I have to have 500 or 1,000. I've heard two different things. So my first benchmark is 500, and I have 444. I'm just so excited about that. That's a little dark. I like how it looks, but it's just too dark. So I'm just gonna lift it. I use Viva. I insist on Viva paper towels. You can use them like a million billion times, and they dry out and they're almost like a piece of cloth, and they just last forever. I can have a roll and it'll last me, you know, a year or two, honestly. I'm very protective of my Viva paper towels. Nobody in the house is allowed to use them, which is stupid because I can just go buy another roll. But I'm like, stay away from my paper towels. Paper towels for, cleaning off the counter or cleaning the dirty pan. That's the Walmart stuff. This is the good stuff. Nobody's allowed to touch that. Okay, this is the first time I'm going to come into another color since I've been on here. I don't know. I've been on here, what, 20 minutes? This is the first time I'm using something besides the gray. This is a mix of permanent brown, sepia. Sometimes I pull in a little ultramarine. Sometimes I pull in a little bit of French ochre. I'm one of those people, I really don't pay a lot of attention to the names of my colors, to be real honest. That's not how I learned. It doesn't really mean a lot to me, but for some people it's really important, so I try to remember my colors for them. And this is kind of my rust color that I like to work in. While I've got it on my brush, I just keep going until I either get bored, or I run out of that color on my brush, or I'm done. One of those three things. It's one of the things I'm kind of also known for is painting my rust. I don't know why, because I don't feel like I'm very good at it at times. Angus McGeelan, he's excellent at rust, but I'm also one of those people, I'm like, I'm just going to dab at this until it feels right, and that's what I'm doing right now. Just trying to pull a little bit of color back in. One thing I've noticed on this painting, this sign in particular, is that in the shadows you start to pick up more detail than you do in the light part of the sign. So I kind of like that. So you can look at the shadow and you can see something come in that isn't there, on the rest of it. It's there, but it's not there. Like right here. And I can't remember what this turquoise is. I think it's Andrew's turquoise from Cheap Joe's, I believe. Some like old wiped out turquoise there. So I'm going to come back and just lift a little bit of that. Pulling up those details in the shadow. And, and I'll sit here and this is something I can literally sit and do for I can look done for, shoot, a week at least and still be doing stuff like this, pulling up these little teeny weeny details. I don't know how many Floridians I have watching, but I'm going to be doing a demo at the Florida Watercolor Society convention in September. So you'll have to come and see. It's actually probably one of the best watercolor conventions in the country. I mean, they have their A game. I'm really impressed with Florida. As you can see, I kind of skip around. I didn't finish painting the shadows on the neon bulbs. I kind of got off onto this thing, and that's what I tend to do a lot. I get off on a tangent, and I just want to sit there and dab at things for a while. Then I get bored. Then I go off and I paint something, go back and paint something else until I'm painting and I go, oh, I don't think I have anything left to paint. Oh, Susan's in Tallahassee. I'm down here in Southwest Florida. No offense, I'm not going to say where I am on live YouTube, but I'm in Southwest Florida now. And now I have the urge to go back to my neon here. Feels kind of flat, especially this part right here. So I think what I'm going to do is just pull this back part up just a little bit. I'll do that on both pieces. That's too dark. So what I'll do is I'll clean up my brush. I'll lift that just a little bit. Okay. I used to just work from a color photograph. I would literally go down to Walmart or buy an 8x10 online. Sometimes I would buy two 8x10s and I would stitch them together. I mean, this was not that long ago. Finally one day I was like, why are you doing that? Like, you got your cell phone. I would also put it on my Kindle. Sometimes I do that, and then I have a little easel over to the side, and I can use that also. I don't very much though. I mostly just put it on my phone. I email it to myself, and then I'll pull it up. I'll download it from my email, and then it's just always there. I have a secondary email address. I email that email address a lot, and it's an old Hotmail account. I've had it. Oh gosh. Well, since 1997. Anyway, and it's just full of junk mail. Never get a Hotmail address, by the way. Just packed full of junk mail. But I only have like 3 addresses that are approved to come through that I'll actually see. So, and my own email address on Gmail is one of those. So it'll always stay right up there at the top where I can see it. So I can always go back and look for reference things and download an image again. I can download it from pretty much anywhere that I am, which I taught at Cheap Joe's. Let's see, that was May or June. I think it was June. And it came out really handy because I got there and I was short of something. Well, I thought I was. So I ran down to Staples and had them print out some stuff for me. And that worked out really well. Now, come to find out, I actually had it. It was hidden between some other reference material. So I didn't really need it, but it's nice to have that, just that option. You just email it to yourself and that file's just sitting there. And is there better ways to do it? Yes. I could be on Google Drive and I could do all those things and I just don't want to. I'm just one of those people. I don't like to change my technology. It annoys my son so very, 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 very much. Sorry, Tanner. This shadow here feels. Oh, let me move you. There we go. This shadow right here feels too light, but I'm hesitant to darken it up too much, so I'm just going to put a little white light wash on it. Because remember, I got that light coming from over this way. I want everything here to be a little bit lower value than down here as it gets around that sign and away from it. So I'm just trying to be really careful not to pull it up too high. This sign, the metal part of the sign was actually kind of fun to paint because you could tell it was all like it had been painted blue at one point and there's like all these streaks on it and everything and then the tree part of it probably was green. That's why it's not really a blue. It was like a green, but has faded so much since this last repair that it's a cross between yellow and green and blues. I'm sitting here talking. I lost my spot. There we go. Okay. Just painted that. I'm coming back. And it's dry already. That's the great thing about painting wet on dry. Dries a lot faster generally, especially when you're doing these little thin washes like this in these little areas. This whole entire time I've only used this one brush, black velvet silver in a number 2. I haven't mixed up a new batch of black in, gosh, several months. And I got some spread on the side of my palette over here, just in the well. And I just it's like the fishes, the loaves and fishes. It just never stops coming out of there. I hate to run it. So, but I'm gonna have to mix some here pretty soon because I started using what was stuck to my palette knife the other day. So okay, well I'm gonna have to mix some up. So I'll mix up a little batch. I probably fill a well maybe, 3 or 4 times a year. That's it. That's why I tell everybody you can put your paint in your will because you'll probably never use it unless you paint big, huge, big splashy paintings, which I do not. Ugh, I like that. I like that a lot better. Of course, you didn't see that part. Hang on. I'm moving. I'm moving to the right here. Sorry, I'm going to adjust you. My phone is plugged in. Hang on, guys. There we go. Sorry about that. My phone's plugged in, so I couldn't move my stand. I hate when you think you're done with an area and you're like, that looks great. You come back the next day, you're like, what the heck happened? Where'd all my color go? I swear it continues to dry after you go to bed. I'll zoom in a little bit. Let's see a little bit better. There we go. I like that. It's those little tiny touches that I just feel like make a painting. And then these neons, they have a bunch of these little tubes or, I don't know, brackets or something that holds them on there. And they're all the same. They look like they're They look like they're glass, but I don't know. I need to get up close to one sometimes so I can really look at it. And then it has a little wire that comes around and holds it on there. How this made it through all of these hurricanes over the years, I'll never know because it looks really delicate. Okay. I think I like that part. I think I'm going to just stop touching it, I think. Okay. For now. I'm going to stop touching it for now. My phone, my old phone, something happened. I've dropped my phone a lot over the years, and I got a little spot on my screen. So from dropping my old phone that I reference while I do this, and it's got a spot on the screen. I'll show you, like right there. Can you see it? Yeah. So it's on there when I'm painting. So I always have to be really careful that I'm like not accidentally painting the green dot on my phone because sometimes it looks like it's in a legitimately good spot. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, I think I'm going to work on this in for a minute. I'm going to be, my plan is to build a studio here on my property or acquire a studio. I haven't decided yet. And so I'm going to do that, kind of share that process on my YouTube channel. And I've done a little bit of research about what I want to do. I'm thinking about a portable building, but I don't know yet. I'm a little concerned about how that's going to affect my taxes because I'm in Florida. So these are things you got to think about. And my insurance, probably more my insurance than taxes because they can't raise me up too much, but they certainly can make me pay more in tax or in insurance, that's for sure. If you know, you know. I'm sorry if I keep bumping the camera. It's right by my glasses. This is really watery that I just put on there. That's really watery right there. And that's one of the things that really annoys me sometimes is I get something too watery, but if I don't get it um, if I make it less watery, then I have a tendency to get it too dark. So what I'll do is I'm just going to let that sit there until it dries because I'm going to lose a lot of color on that. This little spot right here. And then I'll come back and do a little, just more detail. Because right now it's just a big splashy splotch. And I already know what it's going to look like when it's going to be done. It's just going to look like that shape. And that's it. It's going to be very flat. So I'm going to come back and do that again later. Now I'm back here working on the sign, which I don't really need to be working on the sign, but I have a tendency to do that. Okay, I'm back on this upright of this N, which looks very flat right now. I used up a lot of my white, and what I may do is come back and pull that white back up. Maybe tape it out. I'm gonna stay on here for just a little bit longer on the live, maybe another 10-15 minutes, and then take a little break. Talking while I'm painting is giving me a headache. That looks very messy right now, but I'm going to let it dry and then I'll come back in and sharpen it back up. This right here, this line, looks a little rough. I masked out all of my my bars as I painted the background of this, my light bulbs. And I am not the best at at masking. I sure give it a good try though. I mean, I try really hard to make it look nice and clean and straight. So I have to do this a lot. I have to come back and straighten my lines up. Um, I'm currently using Winsor Newton masking fluid. And it's okay. One thing I do also every time I open this is I will open it and then I will take I'll just do it right here. I can do it with this brush right here. I'll just take the end of a brush and I will do this and I'll clean that goopy crap out of there. Now once I put it on this rag, I can't use this rag anymore. And I shouldn't be doing this right over my painting, so do as I say, not as I do. So you can see all the clumps in there. And I have found that to be the best way for me to get all the junk out of there and keep it thin. I mean, you lose a lot when you do this. There we go. Until you almost getting nothing out of it, and then it's pretty thin. So I like mine to be really thin. I use an old Grumbacher paintbrush to they're like rattlesnake teeth. I just pull out a new one. Anyway, I use an old Grumbacher real small brush. Is probably a 0 would be my guess, that I can't really paint with anymore. And I soap it up. I load it up with soap, like a bar soap, old motel soap or something, and you get one, it's going to last you the rest of your life. So anyway, I'll soap it up with that, and then it helps protect the bristles so I can keep using it over and over again. And then I mask out with that. And when I do that, like I said, where I was going with that was I tend to get a little bit of a rough, not a very perfect straight line, but it's straight enough. So I come back in here and I'll clean things up. Some of these shadows are kind of cool. They got a gradient in the shadow. So when I do that, I usually will go to like the darkest part first, clean my brush, cast off a little bit of my water, and then pull it back in. And that's probably not the perfect way to do a gradient, but that's how I do it. And I'm breaking one of my rules. I got a little piece of something in there, but I have a feeling it's paint. It is. And if I left it, it was going to be a mess. So there we go. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. I don't know why I'm avoiding this because it looks like it's difficult, but it's really not. This one section, this one bar section. I'm just going to clean it up on the bottom because there's nothing. There's no shadow on it at all. I don't know if you can see. Right here's the part I'm working on. There's no shadow. I mean, there's no dark side of that tube. Not a very dark side anyway. I just keep looking at it like it's not wrong. But if I go down here and I finish this part, maybe it'll make my eye stop looking at it so much. Because this part does have a shadow on it. That's currently too dark. Ugh, hang on. When I make a mistake like that, one of the first things I'll do is I'll try to come back and clean it up. I went too far. You got two choices really when you make a mistake. Well, you got more than two, but you got a couple choices to make. Immediately, one of the first things you can do is come back and lift that. Just throw some water on it real quick and then pull it up. If you immediately go with your paper towel, you might push it right into the fibers, and then you won't be able to lift it then. So I'm just going to let that sit and dry for a couple seconds. And I'll just keep working my way up. I'm into the A now, which sounds insulting, but I didn't mean it that way. Into the A. go back and pick up my rust. Let's go this a little bit down in here. Clean my brush, cast off most of the water, just touch it a little bit. And that's what makes it look like real rust. Okay. Do this last part of this bottom of this connector between the A and the N, and then I think I'm going to stop and take a break for a little bit. Getting kind of tired. My husband's getting ready to go to bed, so I can tell him good night. This A needs a little bit of yellow ochre in it. I spoke too long. My brush got dry too quick. This is French ochre, excuse me. Wonderful. I like that. So you guys can let me know if you enjoy lives. I'll do that. Like I said, I'm trying to get my membership, not my membership, my members, my subscribers, my subscriber count up. So if you've not subscribed, I'd love it if you would, and share with your friends. I may do some lives here in the next couple weeks to help get that up. My last little bit here on the A. Oh, I like that. And I don't know why, but it looks like rust on the light bulb, so we're going to do it. One thing I always say is trust my reference. So there's some rust look right there. I haven't noticed that my rust paint, which is that decided to do its own thing. My rust, which is, like I said earlier, yellow ochre, or excuse me, sometimes there's French ochre in it, but it's mostly permanent brown, sepia, a little bit of ultramarine blue. Sometimes I pull a little bit of French ochre in it to yellow it up a little bit. But one thing I notice is, I don't know, maybe I just do such thin washes that it disappears too fast. I don't know. Now this has moved a lot, but I don't hate it, so I'm just going to leave it. Although that's not what it looks like in my reference. And then I'm going to come back here and sharpen this up a little bit. I'm happy with that. I think it looks good. Okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go tell my husband good night and take some Advil. I'm getting a headache. Okay, I will probably do some lives again, maybe tomorrow night, sometime this week. And I'd love to see you guys again. I appreciate you coming. And thanks for coming by, guys. I really appreciate you. You can look and see what we got here at the end. Not done. This painting's probably 3/4 of the way done, maybe more. So I'm excited about it. Alrighty, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.